Hello everyone, and thanks for listening today. This is the RX Daily Dose. Today's episode is being recorded on Monday, March 2nd, and I'm your host, Ian Parnagoni. We update this podcast every week for healthcare providers, medical professionals, and anyone who has an interest in drug updates. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms and social media, including iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram. All links can be found in the show notes below. Today we'll be giving overview of multiple new products approved by the FDA, including Nexletol, Angeso, Vyapti, Nexlizet, Nurtec ODT, and Barhemsys. As you can see, it's been quite a busy week for the FDA, so let's get right into it. The FDA has approved bempedoic acid, going by brand name Nexletol, as an adjunct to diet and maximally tolerated statin therapy for the treatment of adults with heterozygous familial hypercholesterolemia or established atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease who require additional lowering of low-density lipoprotein cholesterol. Nexletol is a first-in-class adenosine triphosphate citrate lyase (ACL) inhibitor that lowers LDL by inhibiting cholesterol synthesis in the liver. The approval was based on data from 2 phase 3 studies that evaluated the efficacy and safety of Nexletol in 3,009 adult patients with heterozygous familial hypercholesterolemia or established atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease as an add-on to maximally tolerated statin therapy for 52 weeks. Results demonstrated that Nexletol provided a significant lowering of LDL from baseline anywhere between 12 and 18%, and in the study, the maximum LDL lowering effect occurred at week 4. As for safety, the most common adverse reactions observed were upper respiratory tract infection, muscle spasm, hyperuricemia, back pain, abdominal pain or discomfort, bronchitis, anemia, and elevated liver enzymes. In addition, the treatment has been associated with an increased risk of tendon rupture. It occurred in 0.5% of Nexletol-treated patients versus 0% of placebo-treated patients. And also, according to pharmacokinetic data, the administration of simvastatin or pravastatin with Nexletol may result in increased levels of the statins and related myopathy. Concomitant simvastatin 20 mg or greater or pravastatin 40 mg or greater should be avoided. Nexletol will be available on March 30th, 2020 in 180 mg strength tablets. Treatment is administered orally once daily and can be taken with or without food. Following initiation, lipid levels should be analyzed within 8 to 12 weeks. The same company, Aspirion, also received approval for Nexlizet, which is a combination of bempedoic acid and ezetimibe for lowering LDL cholesterol. The drug is an oral once-daily non-statin indicated with diet and maximally tolerated statin for adults with heterozygous familial hypercholesterolemia or established atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease who need additional help lowering LDL. About 40 million people in the U.S. take statins to lower their cholesterol. Asperion's drugs are targeted at the approximately 8.5 million people who take statins whose cholesterol doesn't decrease to desired levels. The company will also target another 3.5 million patients who can't take statins for a variety of reasons. It's estimated that in the US, about 100 million people have one type of high cholesterol. The FDA also approved an injectable form of meloxicam, going by brand name Angeso, for the management of moderate to severe pain alone or in combination with non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs in adult patients. Meloxicam is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory with analgesic, anti-inflammatory, and antipyretic properties. Angeso contains 30 milligrams of meloxicam per milliliter and is administered as a once-daily intravenous bolus injection. Because of the delayed onset, Angesso alone is not recommended for use when rapid onset of pain relief is required. The approval was based on data from 2 double-blind Phase 3 trials evaluating the treatment in patients with post-operative pain. In the first study, patients with post-operative pain who underwent a bunionectomy surgery were randomized to receive Angesso 30 mg or placebo administered once daily for 2 days, starting on the day after surgery. Results showed a significant reduction in the primary endpoint of pain intensity over the first 48 hours with Angesso compared with placebo. Half of the patients treated with Angesso or placebo received rescue medication. Here they used oral oxycodone 5 mg within the first 2 hours after the starting dose. The second study involved patients with postoperative pain who underwent elective abdominoplasty surgery. Patients were randomized to receive Angesso 30 mg or placebo administered once daily for 2 days starting on the day of surgery. Results showed that the Angesso treatment arm demonstrated a significant reduction in pain intensity compared with the placebo arm. 78% of patients treated with Angesso or placebo received rescue medication in the first 3 hours after the start of dosing. Regarding safety of the product, the most common adverse reactions reported were constipation, increased gamma-glutamyl transferase, and anemia. Angesso carries a boxed warning related to the risk of serious cardiovascular and gastrointestinal events. In a separate Phase 3 safety study, the total occurrence of patients with at least one serious adverse event was observed to be lower in the Angesso group compared with the placebo group. Angesso is supplied in single-dose vials containing 30 mg per ml per vial. The product is expected to be available in late April or early May 2020, according to the company. The FDA also approved eptinezumab, going by brand name Vyapti, for the preventative treatment of migraines in adults and will become available in April of 2020. Vyapti is the first FDA-approved IV treatment for migraine prevention. Vyapti is a monoclonal antibody that binds to calcitonin gene-related peptide, acronym is CGRP, and blocks its binding to the receptor. Anti-CGRP drugs are a cornerstone treatment for many migraine patients now. Vyapti will compete with recently approved migraine prevention drugs, Amgen's Aimovig and Eli Lilly's Emgality that are taken once a month, and Teva Pharmaceuticals' Ajovy, which is dosed either once a month or every quarter. To put that in perspective, Vyapti is given every 3 months. The efficacy and safety of Vyapti was demonstrated in 2 Phase 3 clinical trials. The clinical trial program demonstrated a treatment benefit over placebo that was observed for both doses of Vyapti as early as day 1 post-infusion, and the percentage of patients experiencing a migraine was lower for Vyapti than with placebo for most of the first 7 days. The safety of the drug was evaluated in 2,076 patients with migraine who received at least 1 dose of Vyapti. The most common adverse reactions in the clinical trials for the preventative treatment of migraine were nasopharyngitis and hypersensitivity. In both studies, 1.9% of patients treated with Vyapti discontinued treatment due to adverse reactions. In the same drug class, the FDA this week also approved Biohaven Pharmaceuticals' Remegapint, which goes by brand name Nurtec ODT, as an acute migraine treatment. The ODT in this case stands for orally disintegrating tablet. Biohaven plans to have the drug in pharmacies in early March of this year. As I mentioned, Nurtec ODT is a calcitonin gene-related peptide CGRP receptor antagonist in the same class as Allergan's Ubrelvy, among others in the class. Ubrelvy was approved back in December and is in tablet form, which most patients would take with water, making it slightly less convenient than Nurtec ODT. In the clinical trial used to support the approval, Nurtec ODT helped patients return to normal function within 1 hour. The effect of the drug can last up to 48 hours for many patients, and 86% of patients didn't need any other acute migraine treatments within 24 hours. Biohaven is also testing the medication as a treatment to prevent migraines. Results from the clinical trial is expected later this quarter. If approved as a preventative treatment, Nurtec ODT would then compete against other CGRPs such as Amgen's Aimovig, Teva's Ajovy, and Eli Lilly's Emgality. The good news for Biohaven is that those preventative medications have to be injected. The bad news is that they're dosed once a month or even once a quarter. Given the choice of daily injections versus a daily tablet, most patients would take an oral medication. When the question is 1 injection versus 30 tablets, the choice isn't as clear. The FDA also approved a new indication for neratinib, which goes by brand name Nerlynx, to be used in combination with capecitabine for the treatment of adult patients with advanced or metastatic HER2-positive breast cancer who have received 2 or more prior anti-HER2-based regimens in the metastatic setting. The approval was supported by data from the NALA trial, and results were presented at the 2019 American Society of Clinical Oncology annual meeting. The study demonstrated that the combination resulted in a 24% reduction in the risk of disease progression or death compared with Tykerb and capecitabine. A prior approval allowed for the use of neratinib as extended adjuvant treatment of adult patients with early-stage HER2-positive breast cancer following adjuvant trastuzumab-based therapy. There are many products in this space, and Nerlynx competes directly with Tykerb, Perjeta, Enhertu, and Kadcyla within this indication. And finally, the FDA also approved amisulpride injection, going by brand name Barhemsys, for the prevention and treatment of postoperative nausea and vomiting, which goes by acronym PONV, in adults. Barhemsys is the first and only antiemetic to be approved for the rescue treatment of PONV in patients who have failed prior prophylaxis using current standard of care. For prevention of PONV, Barhemsys can be used either alone or in combination with an antiemetic of a different class. An estimated 16 million surgical patients each year in the U.S. suffer from PONV despite receiving prophylaxis. There are multiple studies that led to the approval decision. In one randomized double-blind placebo-controlled study involving 465 patients who had failed the most commonly used antiemetic prophylaxis, a single 10 mg dose of Barhemsys injection was significantly more effective than placebo in treating patients, 42% versus 29%. The most common side effects observed across phase 3 testing were infusion site pain, chills, hypokalemia, procedural hypotension, and abdominal distension. The company expects to launch Barhemsys in the second half of this year. And in the news from this week, an update for you on influenza and coronavirus. For the coronavirus, and these numbers are as of Sunday, March 1st, the coronavirus death toll rose to 3,001, 2,870 of which are from China, and the number of confirmed infections rose to 88,362 worldwide, 79,828 from China. There are 73 confirmed cases in the U.S. and 131 deaths now outside of China from the virus. That's a big jump from last week. We noticed new countries confirming infections, including jumps in Europe and in North America. We'll continue to see more as the media continues to report. And for influenza this year, in the U.S. alone, the CDC now estimates that so far this season, there have been at least 32 million flu illnesses, 310,000 hospitalizations, and 18,000 deaths from the flu. 125 deaths have been reported in children. You'll continue to hear it from me, and I'm sure any healthcare provider you see. We have to make sure that we continue to use general best practices to avoid the spread of viruses. Get your flu vaccine, avoid contact with those who may be sick, stay home from work and school when you're sick, cover your mouth and nose while sneezing or coughing in your sleeve, and clean your hands with soap and water or an alcohol-based sanitizer. And that's all I have for this week. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'll include all links from what we discussed in the show notes below, so please go back and check those out too. Please connect with me on any of your social media platforms and give me feedback on what you heard today. I'd love to know what you thought about the episode. And as always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. And thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Music by Joseph McDade.